Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to do recorded animations in Halo Combat Evolved. I'm going to show you how to make Pelican fly in and drop off troops, and I'll also show how to make a Covenant dropship, the Spirit, also do the same. You can also pick up troops too, you can do a whole bunch of stuff. But this is mainly for people using the new mod tools, the ones that came with MCC. But all of this also applies to the original mod tools. In fact, I think it's actually a lot easier. But regardless, the process does take a while to set up, but once it's set up, it works very well and it's very easy to do. But first of all, we need a whole bunch of stuff. This is kind of the annoying part. There's a whole bunch of things we need to install and set up in order to make this work. So first of all, we need Halo Custom Edition. All the links that you need are going to be in the description below, and a written sort of tutorial will be there as well, in case you'd rather follow that. So Halo Custom Edition, we need this. We need the 1.09 patch. We need the Halo Editing Kit, which is the original mod tools that came with Custom Edition. And we need the Recorded Animation Recorder. Now, one thing to point out is that this only works with the 1.09 version of Custom Edition, so make sure you get this version and not the latest version, which is 1.10. You want 1.09. Another thing I recommend getting is Halo Anti-Cheat 2. This will allow you to change your field of view in-game, which is really, really handy when flying these vehicles, as it means you have a lot more view. And for those of you like myself who really don't like low field of view and get motion sick, this is a very handy little tool to use. So I really recommend you get this. We're also going to need the map file of the map we intend to add these animations to. Now, for those of you who are making your own custom maps, the process is a bit different. You essentially will have to port your maps to the old versions of the editing tools, because a map that you export with the new tools will not run in Custom Edition, and you can only do recorded animations in Custom Edition. So for those of you in that situation, I have no idea what you need to do. You probably know better than I do, but for those of you like myself who want to add stuff to the already existing campaign or multiplayer maps, you want to download the map that you want. For this example, I'm going to do the Silent Cartographer, because that's one of the maps I'm actually working on at the moment, so it's one I'm familiar with. But you want to extract the map file, and you want to also download the bitmaps.map file, which is right here, the sounds.map file, which is right here, and the UI.map file, which is right here. So you want to download those three things, plus the map that you want to add these animations to. We're also going to need the Moz Essentials kit, which is just a kit that we're going to use to extract the data files from the map that we just downloaded. And we're also going to need Invader so we can extract the tags from the map that we downloaded. So it's a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to need, but I'm going to show you from pretty much start to finish how to do this. So first of all, we need to install Custom Edition. So run the exe, click Accept, click Install. To install this, we need a product key. Luckily for all of you, I'm going to give you one right here. Getting a key is actually really easy. This game is really old, and I'm pretty sure there's lots of keys floating around on the internet. But regardless, I'll give you one here, and I'll throw it in the description for everyone in case they need to use it. But just install the game. Once you get to this screen, you can uncheck GameSpy Arcade. We're certainly not going to be using that. And make sure to install the game in a place that you can easily reach. So I'm going to just install it here in this place. But for you, make sure to install it somewhere easily reachable. So we're going to click Install and wait for that to finish. Okay, so once that's done, we can close out of that. And then we're going to install the update. So in the zip file, just simply run the patch_ce109exe, click yes, and then click run when it prompts. You don't need to direct it anywhere, it already knows where to install to. Same thing with the Halo Editing Kit. We only need to just click yes, click install. By default, it will install to the Custom Edition install directory, and just leave it there, otherwise I don't think it'll work. So make sure it's installed to the Halo Custom Edition directory that you installed it already to. So just click install and wait for that to finish. Once it's finished installing, we can just close that. Now we need to install the animation recorder. So I'm going to go to the game's install directory, which is right here. And I'm just going to drag this to the quick access bar just so I can really quickly get to this folder since we're going to be going back to it a lot. So to install the animation recorder, let's have the install directory open and the zip file. So we're going to go to the install directory and scroll down until we find the Strings.dll file, right click on it and rename it to strings_org. So strings_original basically, .dll, and that's fine. Then go to the zip file and drag in the recorded animation editor.exe and the strings.dll file. So what you'll have is the exe plus the original strings file, which has been renamed, plus the new strings file, which has been named strings.dll. Next, we can install the Halo Anti-Cheat 2, which will allow us to change our field of view. This is really easy. Go to the controls folder inside Halo Custom Edition and drag in hack2_loader.dll. And it's literally that easy. Next, we're going to have the Moz editing kit and Invader. We can set these two up now just to make our lives a lot easier. So I'm going to extract Moz editing kit first. What we need to do is open up the MEKE folder and you'll have a bunch of files here. So the first thing we need to do is open the updater. For whatever reason, this program is a bit wonky. When you first open it and click update, it will prompt you and be upset. So just click OK and close it. Then open up any of these three, doesn't matter. I'm going to open up Refinery. Once it's open, just close it again and then open the updater. And now it should work. There we go. So now it's updating and just leave it to do its thing. So once it's finished, we can close out of that, and now that's all set up. Now we're going to set up Invader, which is what we're going to use to extract the tags. So I'm just going to extract it to its own folder. So I have the folder here. I'm going to click on the folder, and then you're going to have a bunch of exes here. Ignore all of them, except six-shooter.exe. In six-shooter, we need to set up some stuff before we can actually use it. The first one, Invader Directory, click on Find, and it should already be in the Invader Directory. So just select folder, that's fine. Map directory, we'll set it to Halo Custom Edition. This isn't really necessary, but we have to do it anyway. So go to Halo Custom Edition, go to the Maps folder, and select folder. Then tag directory, I recommend you set it to extract it to the desktop, just because it's a lot easier. So I'm going to create a new folder and just call it tags. And then in the tags folder, I'll do select folder. So it should look something like this. But obviously yours will be slightly different, but that's the setup that I'll be using. Once that's done, you can click save and you can just leave it as that for now, and you can close six-shooter. So the next thing we need to do is open up Custom Edition. So we're going to have a shortcut here, but before we can open it, we need to add some stuff to the target line. So right click on the shortcut and open up Properties. In the target field, we're going to add some stuff. So the first one we're going to add is -console. That'll allow us to open up the console. -devmode, which will allow us to run commands in the console. And I also recommend adding -window. This will run the game in a window, which is really useful because we're going to be switching back and forth between Custom Edition and Sapien and script files, etc. It's really handy just to have it out of the way and easily be able to swap back and forth. So just click apply and then continue and then click OK. Now we can open up Custom Edition. The first time you open it, it might take a while as it's creating files in certain places, but just wait for it to finish opening. So once the game has opened, we need to make sure we go to Settings, then Video Setup, and we need to make sure that the frame rate is set to 30. Recorded animations will not work at anything above 30 FPS, so make sure you leave it at that. For those of you with 1440p monitors like myself, I recommend setting it to like 1600 by 1200. For those of you with 1080p monitors, it will be like, I don't know, smaller than that, 900 by something. But this is a size that I recommend. I also don't really recommend making it widescreen since there's not really much point. Another thing to note is that I really recommend you plug in a controller. How recorded animations work is you quite literally fly a vehicle or drive a vehicle or move a character or whatever, and the game will record your inputs. Now, it's a lot easier to create more natural flowing movements with a controller than it is with a mouse and keyboard. So you can do this however you like, but I do recommend you set up a controller. If you go to the gamepad screen, you see I have a controller plugged in already. So if I want to add any bindings, I simply go to the control setup page, scroll along until I find controller, and then I can add whatever inputs I like. But this isn't necessary, but it's something I really recommend you do if you want to get the best results. So once you've set up all your key bindings and stuff like that, we can quit out of Combat Evolved, or Custom Edition rather. And now we need to extract the data and tags from our map file. So let's do the data first. So I'm going to open the Moz editing kit here. And you'll see we have a bunch of stuff. What we're going to open is Refinery. So in Refinery, it does actually have a tag extractor, although I found that the tags it extracts don't seem to work very well. So I recommend we use this for extracting data and then use Invader, the other tool, to extract the tags. So what we're going to do here is switch to data extraction, which is just up here. And then we're going to click File, Load Maps, and then we're going to open the map that we downloaded and make sure that these three files, bitmaps, sound, and UI, are alongside it. So B30, the silent cartographer, and these maps along with it. I'm going to click OK. And it should just take a moment and it'll open up all these files. So these are the data files. We can switch between tags and data, but the one we want is data. So make sure it says switch to tags. We want it set so it says switch to tags. So we're currently on data at the moment. So once we're on here, we can click on run extraction. And here you'll see it has some place that it's specified. We're just going to click browse. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open Custom Edition. And just to make sure that we have a backup of the original files, what we're going to do is actually rename the original tags and data folder to _org or whatever you want really, just something to differentiate itself. This is just to make sure that we have a backup of the original files. So I'm going to change the names of these, and then I'm going to go to here, the Moz extractor. Then we're going to go to Custom Edition, and then we're just going to create a folder called Data. And we're going to select the data folder and then go. And there we go, it's set up so it's extracting to a folder called Data in Custom Edition. Then just select Add to Queue. If you open up the command prompt, you can see it running through all of the files it's extracting. So just give it a minute and it'll extract everything. Okay, so once it's finished extracting, we can close Refinery. And next we can open up Invader. And now we can open up six-shooter.exe. And here we're going to click Extract Tags. Once again, we're going to find the map we downloaded with these three files alongside it. We're going to click on B30. And you'll come up with this window here. Just make sure that it's extracting to where you told it to. So here it's just a folder called Tags on my desktop. That looks fine to me. I'm going to click Extract All Tags right at the bottom here. And once again, just leave it to do its thing. That's very quick. So it's extract everything, wait for it to say extracted so-and-so out of so-and-so, and that's all good, and then we can close that. So now we need to bring in these new tags that we have. So I have my tags folder on my desktop. I'm just going to copy it over to our Custom Edition folder. So what we should have now is the original data and tags folders that came with this fresh install with _original, and these new folders called data and tags with the new folders and files that we just extracted. Now what we're going to do before we proceed is we're actually going to make sure that all the files that we need are actually here. So the original tags folder, we're going to open it up and copy all the files in it. And then go to the new tags folder that we just extracted all the info from and paste in here. And when we are prompted, we're going to say skip files that have the same name. Okay, so once we get to here, just say skip these files. And that's very good. We basically just updated this list of tags so we have all the information from here as well. So now we need to make the Pelican and the Covenant dropship flyable. So what we're going to do is go to gorilla.exe in the Custom Edition folder. We're going to go to File, Open, and then we're going to navigate to the Tags folder in Custom Edition. So the Custom Edition directory, we'll go to Tags, scroll down to Vehicles, And we'll do Pelican first because that's a bit easier to do. So we're going to go to pelican.vehicle. And you'll see we have this window pop up with a whole bunch of information. Now everything is meaningless except the seats section. So in the seats section, what we're going to do is we're going to rename pDriver to wDriver. And that's all we need to do. In the label field, just rename it to wDriver, and that's all you need to do in order to make this vehicle flyable. Next, we're going to go File, Open, and we'll do the Covenant Dropship 2. We'll go C_Dropship, C_Dropship.vehicle. And now we have the Covenant Dropship. Once again, scroll down, go to Seats, and change C_Dropship driver to W-Driver. In addition to this, what we're going to do is we're going to add a camera track. Now, by default, the camera on the Covenant Dropship is really close to it's essentially in the center of the vehicle, which makes flying it very, very difficult. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to give it the same camera track as the Pelican. So as you can see, below seats, it says camera tracks. And it has a camera track here, but on the Covenant Dropship, it has none. So what we're going to do, we're going to click Add, and it says Loose. We're going to click on the 3 dots here, and then we're going to navigate to the Tags folder again in Custom Edition. Go up to the top to Camera, and then airplane_large_loose.camera_track. Double click on that, and that should be there. The third thing we need to do is that we need to make sure that the built-in gunner field is empty. So if we navigate to Gun Seat, so in the Seats menu we have Driver, and we also have Gun Seat. We need to go down to where it says Vehicles, C Dropship, so on and so forth, and we need to just backspace and just get rid of all this information that's in here in the built-in gunner field. We only need to do this for the Gun Seat seat, basically. For Driver, there won't be anything there, but for the Gun Seat, there will be. Just make sure you get rid of that. So that's all we need to do, basically. So now we just need to save our changes. So just click on this menu, just Control-S a whole bunch of times, and then click on this menu and Control-S a bunch of times. Just an easy way to make sure that you're saving your changes. So the next thing we need to do is we need to tell the level that the vehicle is flyable, as by default, vehicles we place in the level are not flyable. So we need to add some scripting stuff. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to Data, Levels, B30 scripts, and then we're going to open scripts.hsc. Now this is the level script, basically. Oh, by the way, I'm opening this in Visual Studio Code. This is a scripting program, which is actually very handy. There is a tool, a Halo scripting language tool that someone made for this, which is really handy, and it colors stuff in, and it's very useful. But you can actually just do this in Notepad. There's no problem with that. So you can just right-click, open with Notepad. There's no problem with that. But anyway, in this script, this is the level script. We're going to scroll straight to the bottom, and you can tell that I wasn't recording. So I've done all this already, but anyway, I'll go through it all again. At the bottom of the script, we need to add some lines of code that tells the level that we can get in a vehicle, basically. So what we're going to type in is parentheses, script, which is just what it is, it's a script, and then startup, which means that the script will start at the start of the level, which is what we want. We want this to occur right at the start of the level. And then we need to just give it a name. This is completely meaningless. You're never going to need to refer to this because it's a startup script, so just name it whatever you want. Vehicle, enterable, that's what I called it. It's fine. And then we need to add some commands. So we need to use the unit set enterable by player command. So unit underscore, so on and so forth. And then we need to name the vehicle. In this case, I'm going to call it rec_pelican, so recording_pelican, just an easy shorthand way of referring to it. And then we need to set if this is true or false. So if we set it to true, the vehicle is enterable. If we set it to false, the vehicle is not enterable. And then we need to do the same for the Covenant Dropship. I'm just assuming that you want both in your level, so I'm going to put both here. So recording Pelican, we can drive that, and recording Covenant Dropship, we can drive that, and then close parentheses. So this is how you'd script this, just to make sure that the vehicle is enterable. So once you've done that, you can save, just Control-S a bunch of times, and you can close out of that. The next thing we need to do is we need to open Sapien and add these vehicles to our level, these flyable vehicles. So we're going to open Sapien, go to Custom Edition, Tags, Levels, B30, B30.scenario. And it'll open up Sapien. By default, these windows will be all stacked up in the top left, so just move them around in a layout that you like. Again, I forgot to hit record, so all of this has already been done, but that's fine. That actually speeds up this entire thing and makes it less tedious. So we have the level here. To move around in your level, just hold down the middle mouse button, the scroll wheel, and press WASD, and you'll move around. If you press Shift, you can change the speed at which you move around, and also sticky keys too. You can change it. I'm going to set it to max for now. Please go away, sticky keys. So we need to add our vehicles. They've already been added. Wow, thank you, past me, for doing that. So go to Missions, and then Objects, and then Units in this section down here, and find the Vehicles tab. Now in this folder, we need to just add some vehicles. So right-click anywhere, basically. This is the start of the level, so I'm just going to put them right next to the start, just to make our lives a lot easier. And I'm going to add a Pelican and a Covenant Dropship, and I need to name them what I named them in the script. So I called the Pelican recording_Pelican, so in the top right here, you can see the type has been set to Pelican, and it's been called rec_Pelican, which is what we want. Same thing with the Covenant Dropship, we've set it to Covenant Dropship, and it's called rec_C_Dropship. So these are our two vehicles, and in the script we've set them to be enterable, and in Gorilla we've changed the tags to be enterable. Everything is as it should be right now, but we need to get this into a file that we can launch in Custom Edition. So first what we need to do is compile our script. Go to File, Compile Scripts. This basically tells Sapien to go check the script file and just check for any updates, basically. Just make sure everything runs okay. If there is an error in your script, it will tell you when you compile. It will say there is a problem somewhere. It'll output and tell you where the problem is. Although the script I gave you will work all the time if that's all you're adding, so there shouldn't be any issue. But anyway, compile the script a couple of times just to make sure, then Control S a whole bunch of times to make sure the level is saved. Very cool. Now we can close out of that. We don't need that anymore. Now we need to go to Custom Edition's install directory. And we're going to go to the top, the directory bar here. Just click the mouse. Then we're going to replace this with the word CMD. So the letters CMD. Then we're going to click Enter. And what this does is it opens a command prompt in this folder. It's already been directed to this folder. As you can see, it says e/game/Halo Custom Edition. Now the program we're going to use is Tool. You can see we have tool.exe down here, but if you click it, nothing will happen because it's not an actual program. Well, it is, but not really. So to use it, we have to use the command prompt. So if we type in tool and press enter, you'll see we have a bunch of commands that we can use, but the only one we're interested in is build cache file. So we're going to type tool first off to say we're using tool, then build-cache-file. And then we need to name or point to where the level is. So I'm going to type in levels b30/b30. That's where the level is in the tags folder. It already goes to the tags folder, and we need to tell it where in the tags folder this file is. So it's in the levels folder, then it's the b30 folder, and then the file is called b30. That's basically how it works. Once you've done that, click enter, and it should run through a bunch of stuff. If it says successfully built cache file, you know everything worked out fine, and we can continue. If there's any problems, let me know, and I'll do my best to help. But once that's done, we can close out of that. Let's just check to see if that worked. So if we go to the maps folder, you'll see we have a b30.map file. There are no campaign levels that are included in Custom Edition. By default, it's only multiplayer maps. So the fact that we see the b30 map here is good. That means it worked. Obviously, it'll be a different name depending on what level you're doing. So now we need to open this level in Custom Edition. Let's open up Halo Custom Edition. Ignore any warnings it might give you. You can ignore them. So now we need to load the map in, but we don't have a campaign selection. This game wasn't made for playing campaign, so there is no campaign button. So we have to use the console commands. So we're going to press the tilde key, which is below escape and to the left of 1. So if we click that, the game will pause and the console will appear. To open the level, we need to type in map_name space B30 and then enter. And because I'd done this before, oh no, it actually started again because we recompiled the map. Okay, no problem. One thing to point out is if you leave and come back, it'll actually load from your last checkpoint despite not running through the campaign menu. If you want to reset the level, just type map_reset, or the level will reset, just to let you know. So once we're in Custom Edition, there's an important thing we need to do. Don't touch anything yet. How the animation recorder works is that the first key you press will be the button that it will assign to the animation recorder, basically. Also, another thing to note, I'm kind of rushing through this again, if you type in the command game_speed, you can set the game speed. So if I set it to 10, you'll see the game will just whiz straight through all of this. And that's a really handy way to get past the unskippable cutscenes that are scattered in this game. To get the game back to its normal speed, you can type in game_speed 1, which is default, or you can press up on the arrow key, and it will remember the stuff you typed in. As you can see, if I press up and down, it shows all the stuff that I've been typing in. I can go to game speed, backspace once, and there we go, I can get back to the normal game speed. Another thing we can do is type AI space off. It will just kill all our AI, and that's really handy. But sorry, back to the thing I was talking about before. The animation recorder, the first key you press when you launch a level is the level that it will use for starting and stopping your animations. So since I've already done this, I've set it to F4. So as you can see, I press F4 and it starts and stops my animations. If you mess up and you've pressed a key and you don't know what the hell happened and it's set to a key that you don't like, there is no fear, don't worry, we can fix this. To fix it, quit out of Custom Edition, and then you'll find that there is an Anim record set.ini file. This basically just sets what letter to press to start animations. And you probably can change it from in here, but I don't really want to go through and find out which is which. So what you do is you delete this file, and then it basically just resets it to default. And so the next time you open Custom Edition, you can then set whichever key that you want to start and stop your animations. Ignore me deleting all that. So let's open Custom Edition again. Let's load our map. We've started the level, and then now we set the key that we want. My game speed has been set to that because that's where it's saved. Right, now we're back to normal. AI off. This is such a sloppy tutorial. But yeah, mine's been set to F4. It's just a pretty handy key to set. It also is for bookmarking servers as well. But there's no trouble really. Another thing you can do, press F6 and pull back and push forward on the mouse to change your field of view. This is really handy. This is what the anti-cheat 2 does. I recommend setting it to something relatively high, since we're not really playing the game properly here, we're just doing these animations. So, once you've done that, we have our vehicles here. These guys are going to fly away. We have our vehicles here. I'm going to switch to controller, since that's how I've set everything up. So we have our vehicles. In order to get in each of them, you have to go to a specific spot, as per usual. So jump on the back of our Pelican here. And to get in, we have to get to the cockpit. It's a pretty obvious place. Just hold down the action button and whoop-de-doo, we're inside a Pelican. Pretty cool. And we can fly around and do our thing. I won't go into major detail about how to fly these. All I'm going to say is they're pretty jank and they don't fly as well as you'd like them to, but they work good enough. So that's the Pelican. In order to get into the Spirit, you have to go to the center here and jump up. It's a little bit awkward. It's in a weird spot. It's like right near the back here. If you jump up, you'll see it says press so-and-so button to get in. Press the button, and then we get in. Very cool. Then we can fly around this ship and, you know, do whatever we want to do. Just a quick note on controls, may as well. Crouch is down and jump is up. Pretty obvious, but just say it just so we all know. So I'm going to do an example recording. I'll do it with the Pelican. I'm not going to do it with the Spirit because it's identical. The processes are exactly the same. There is no difference. So I'll just do it with the Pelican, as this is the most sort of obvious one that most people will probably want to do, I'd assume. What we're going to do is we're going to get in our Pelican, and I'll show you some ways to make your life a lot easier when doing these recordings, since it can be a bit awkward, and getting up on this darn ship is even more awkward. Please get on. Let me up. You can probably use a command to get in, really, but oh well. So, we're going to get inside our Pelican, and we're going to go to where the animation will start. Now, obviously, if you've got half a brain, we want this to start where the player can't see it, because the vehicle is going to spawn in. Luckily on this map we have this whole area up top which you know, no one can see. So we're going to start our animation up here, and I'm going to copy one that I've already done. I'm not actually going to use this, but I'm going to sort of just show like how exactly I did it. So we're going to go to where our animation starts. I'm going to do it around here. Let's assume the player's not going to be here whenever this triggers anyway, so there's no problem with me being up here. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use the tilde key. I'm going to do the command core save. And what this does is it basically just makes a save, which is really handy to make sure that you always start from the same position every single time, because this is kind of trial and error. You're going to be flying this vehicle and try and getting this recording right, and you're going to fuck up a lot, probably. So an easy thing to do is just make a save, and then type in core load to load that save, and then we're back to where we started. And that's a really, really easy way of making sure you start your animation exactly the same place every single time. Another thing to note, for some reason, if you lean forward, your vehicle goes forward. If you lean back, your vehicle goes back. I have no idea why it does this, but it does. So it's very annoying. But anyway, let's do an example. I'll press F4, we start our animation, let's go. Ignore that. This is going to be very sloppy. I'm not actually going to use this to show the scripting part. But I'll just fly it in. Now once we get to where the animation finishes, we need to stop the animation and then quickly start the next one. So I'm going to go here, I'll go down, and then press F4 and I'm done. F4, I'm going to pause quickly. So how this usually works is you'll have a animation for going in and an animation for going out. That's how it works, basically. Two separate animations for each thing. And you want to make sure that you start your animation for leaving where you finish the one where you came in. This is just to make sure that what you do on screen matches up properly with what will actually happen in game. So one thing I like to do is just stop the animation and then immediately start the leave animation. Like I said, this is all just trial and error. You'll be doing this 100 times over till you get it right. But it's a lot of fun, and when you get it right, it's very rewarding. So I'm going to unpause by pressing the tilde key again. I'm going to press F4 again to start our leave animation. So this is us leaving. Let's go this way. Any matter. And let's fly away. Oh, and there's another vehicle playing its own recorded animation as well. Collision is a bit jank in this game. These vehicles are not intended to collide with anything, basically. So it's best that you try avoid that. You can just sort of ram straight into the floor, but they don't, you know, ram realistically. Half the front is inside. But anyway, once we find our ending position, we press F4 again, and that ends our animation, and that's where the animation will stop. So we've done our animations, our in and out animation, and now we can import that into Sapien. So let's close Custom Edition, since we don't need this anymore. And now what we need to do is we need to import these animations to Sapien. But what we can actually do is we can import this into our new mod tools. So this is a really handy thing about this animation recorder that we copied to our directory here, recorded Anim Editor.exe. If we open this up, we click File, Open, and we can actually go to our new mod tools. So Halo CE Editing Kit right here. This is the MCC mod tools. We can go to Tags, Levels, B30, B30.scenario. And you'll see it'll list all the recorded animations that are present in our scenario file. As you can see, I've added a whole bunch of stuff that I'm doing for this mod I'm working on. But in order to add the animation, we just simply press Add, and then we'll do Pelican_in. So that's our in animation. We click Inject, and then we go back to Custom Edition, and we find the file it created. These .text files that it creates here. These are our animations. This is the stuff that we've just recorded. So I'm going to assume that we're going to have an in and out animation. So our second to last one will be our in, and the last one will be our out. So we'll do this one. It says this information, very cool. And then we'll do add again, and we'll do pelican out. I spelled that wrong, doesn't matter. We'll do inject, and then we'll select our out animation. Okay. Then once that's done, we just click File and Save. I'm not going to do it now because I've already got some examples to show, and these animations are terrible anyway. But that's how you import them into the new mod tools. So let me show you what happens now. So I'm going to open New Sapien, the MCC version of the mod tools, and I'll show you what's happening here. And I'll show you in conjunction with the scripting that I wrote, so we can really demonstrate how we get the ship to fly in and fly out. So here is my script. Now I'll give some context so we all understand what the hell's going on here. In this example, I want it so that my Marines that are going to be running around with me, I want them to have reinforcements in case some of them die. So let's go to where that happens in the script. Let's have a look. So right here in my script, everything else is unimportant. Just this what I've highlighted here. It says, if less than half AI living fraction Marine 1 wake re1 script. What this basically says is when half of this squad is alive, or dead technically, when half of them are alive or less, wake this script. And this script is our reinforcement script. So this is a really easy way of making it so that when a certain amount of enemies, or allies I'd assume, or enemies, it works too, die, we can trigger this reinforcement script. So if we scroll up, we can find our script right here. Here we go. Re1 script. This is what we just referred to down below. Let's go through this step by step, and I'll show you what's happening in Sapien. So ignore these two. These are not important. These are other things that are not relevant. So the first thing, object create a new re1 pelican. So re1 pelican is our pelican that's going to be flying in. And what this basically says is it creates the pelican anew. So if the pelican already exists, it will delete it and create a new one. Let's do that in game. So object create, can't spell, anew, I really can't spell, re1 pelican, enter. So there we go, it was this one. So it just made it anew, basically. So now the next thing, unit set enterable by player, re1 pelican, false. This, like before, is telling the game that this pelican is not enterable by the player, because we don't want the player, for this pelican to come in to drop reinforcements and then the player gets in and flies away. We don't want him to be able to do that. So we set it to be false. Next, we place our reinforcement marine. So it says AI underscore place re1 marine. So let's find those marines here. So we've got a mission AI encounters. Let's find our marines. They're somewhere here. Where are they? There they are. So I have an encounter here, re1 marines. Let's open the squad and see where they are. So this is where they spawn. I've told them to spawn here. I've set them to be armored marines with assault rifles. Their initial and return state is searching, and there's 5 of them on all difficulties, basically. And I've set them so that they spawn right here, out of the way of the player. Because they're going to get teleported into the ship anyway, we teleport them, or we spawn them in, out of the sight of the player. That's where they are, so that's going to happen. So let's do this now. AI place re1 marine. There they are, there's our marines. Next thing, sleep 1. One thing to note is that an encounter cannot be placed into a vehicle in the same tick that they've been placed into the map. So you have to wait 1 tick at the very least before we teleport them into the vehicle. And that's what the next line is. Vehicle load magic, which basically is basically just teleport into the vehicle. They load in the vehicle magically out of nowhere. And then the name of the vehicle, the name of the seat, and then the name of the squad that we're going to be teleporting in. So re1 pelican is the name of the vehicle. Rider is the name of the seat, or seats in this situation. And re1 marine is the name of the squad. One thing to note is that the vehicle load magic command is looking for a unit, not AI. So if we just type in re1 marine without this AI actors, it won't work. We need to use the AI actors to convert AI into an object list. Another thing to point out is that if you want a unit to get into a specific seat, you can actually name that seat. So if we go to Gorilla, I'm taking a lot of liberties here. I'm assuming you know a lot what all this stuff means. But if we open up Gorilla and we go to the seats section in the pelican.vehicle tag, we can see that each seat is actually named. So driver is named something, passenger left so-and-so is named something. We can actually specify which seat we want them to get in. And in the script, we can specify right here which seat we want them to get into. Now, rider in this scenario equals all seats that are not the driver's seat, basically. It's basically all the passenger seats. That's what rider means. If we were to type in nothing, so this means all seats. This equals every seat. So that would mean the Marines get into literally every seat. I'm not sure the nuances of this. I'm not sure what order they get in or which seat they get in first. But you can use this if you want to make them get into all seats. I'm not sure if that includes the driver's seat. I have no idea. But that's just some stuff to know. So let's do that as well in Sapien, so I can really show you how this is happening. So vehicle load magic re1 pelican rider AI actors re1 marine. Let's go over to our pelican and look at this. Our dudes are in the seats. Very cool. So now they're in the seat, but now we need to make it play the animation of it flying in. So let's go back to our script here. So the next thing it says is AI migrate. Now, one thing that you might find is that you already have a bunch of Marines with the player, for example, and you want these Marines to join those Marines once they've gotten out of their pelican. So that's what you can do here. You can tell the Marines, re1 Marines, these are our reinforcements, to join the Marines that we already have existing in the level. This means that you don't have to command or script these Marines to do the same thing. You just tell them to join them, so that anything that happens to these Marines happens to these guys too. So after that, it says object teleport re1 pelican to re1 flag. Now before I said it was really important you know where your animation started. So that's why it was really important to make a core save to know where the animation starts. So let me open the flags folder. I go to game data, then flags. And here is our re1 flag. It's right here. It's this one right here. Now, this basically just teleports, obviously, this object to this flag. One thing to point out is it faces the direction of the green arrow. That is forward. So I want it to face this direction when the animation starts. So let's do that. Object teleport re1 pelican to re1 flag. And as you can see, it teleports in. But then it starts to float down to the ground, and that's not very cool. But that's not a problem because that's not going to happen. Look what happens next. It says recording play and hover. Re1 pelican, re1 recording in. This is a command that tells the vehicle to play its recording, and at the end of its recording, it will hover. It won't float to the ground, it will just stay wherever it ended. And then we specify the object, which is our pelican, and then we specify the recording, which is this, re1 rec in. As you can see, if we go to our recorded animations folder, we can see we have a re1 recording in recording, and we're just referring to that. So let's type that in. Let's teleport our pelican to its starting position. It doesn't show it on screen, but it has actually done it already. Because these things are going to happen in the same frame, we can actually simulate that by just typing in two commands, one after the other. So let's do that. Recording, play, and hover, re1 pelican, re1 rec in. Enter. And there we go, it teleports, and then it plays its animation. Ignore the flashing, that's not good. That's my traces that don't actually exist in the level. I got rid of them, but ignoring that, we can see our pelican will fly in, it'll do its thing, it stops here, slows down, goes down, and this is where the animation was stopped in Custom Edition. So now it just hovers where it is. So now we want our Marines to get out. How do we make them get out? What we need to do is we need to use the vehicle unload command, but we can't do that immediately, otherwise our Marines will just get out the moment the animation starts. We need to make the animation sleep. So we need to make it sleep for the time that the animation goes on for. Now there is actually a script command that says sleep for the length of the recording, but I find it's actually a lot easier to, a lot more modular, gives you a lot more control if you just manually type it in. So what we can do, we can go to the recorded animations thing, we can go to our animation, re1 rec in, that's what it just played, and if we go up here it says length of animation 814 ticks. So in our script, after it started playing, we're going to tell it to sleep for 814 ticks. Now I've set it to be a bit more than that. So this basically means that the animation will play, and then it will wait for about 2 seconds maybe, and then it will continue. So this is how, it gives you a little bit more control as to what's going on, as to when your allies get in or out of your vehicle. But after that, we have vehicle unload. This is pretty obvious what it does, it just makes them unload. What it is the command, the name of the vehicle, and then the name of the seat. It doesn't specify, you don't specify the name of the unit that's getting out, you specify the seat that you want whatever's in it to get out of. Now, one thing that they did in the original game, at the start of Silent Cartographer, all the Marines get out of the Pelican at the same time. And the result of this is pretty sloppy. The Marines will kind of get stuck on each other, they'll like land on top of each other, and it looks pretty jank. So one thing I recommend you do is you make it so that it sleeps in between each seat. Because what you could do is you could just specify every seat and just tell them all to get out at once, which is fine, that works too. But it doesn't look very good, so I recommend you do this. You specify each seat and tell it to wait a certain amount of time. So what's happening here is that the Pelican Rider left front seat gets out, it waits for 15 ticks, then the right seat gets out, waits for 15 ticks, left middle, right middle, so on and so forth. And the result of this is that they get out one at a time, and it looks pretty cool. They look like actual soldiers that have been trained to do this. I'm not going to go through each one because this would be a chore to deal with, but I can show you afterwards what it looks like in-game, actually. So, after they've all gotten out, let's just assume they've done that. Let's talk about some other beneficial stuff that you can do. Now, if you have some enemies that are around when your Pelican flies in, you might find that your Marines start shooting at them while they're in the Pelican. Now, that does seem kind of cool, but unfortunately, there are no animations associated with this behavior, meaning that the Marines won't actually lift their guns to face the enemy. They'll just have their gun faced towards the floor, and then some magic bullets will appear out of their gun and magically turn around to shoot at the enemy. And it doesn't look very good. So one way to fix this is what you can do is you can make your reinforcements blind and deaf. If I go to my Marines here, you can see on the top right, I've told them to be initially blind and initially deaf. So that means that as they're flying in, they can't see anything, they can't hear anything, which means they're not going to start shooting at anything, which is what we want. So in the script, 2 seconds after they've gotten out, which is this sleep 60 here, I've set them to be no longer blind and no longer deaf. This is just an easy way of just making sure they don't do anything stupid while they're in their vehicle, like shooting at enemies, because it just doesn't look particularly good, but obviously that's for you to decide. After that, we have an if game all quiet game save. This is a very simple if statement. It just says if the game is all quiet, no one's shooting at the player, there are no enemies nearby, the game will save. Again, that's something for you to decide. Now, another thing that Bungie did is that they wouldn't let the vehicle leave until the player had become a certain distance away from the vehicle. This was mainly just to stop the player from jumping on top of the vehicle and then being flown away, which is kind of cool, and they did miss it a few times, like in 343 Guilty Spark, you can get on top of the Pelican and fly out of bounds. But in order to do this, what we need to do is we need to make a trigger volume and basically say if the player is not in this area, the vehicle can leave. So if I go to game data and then trigger volumes, you'll see I have one here. Re1 clearance volume. It's relatively large. The vehicle takes a while to sort of get going, so you want to make it relatively big around the vehicle. So let's look at our script. So this is the space, basically. Let's look at our script. It says sleep until, which basically means the script sleeps until this occurs. We're going to sleep until the players are not in this trigger, basically, is what it means. So volume test objects is it tests objects in an area. We've specified the players. We want to check if the players are in this area. We've specified the trigger volume that we're using, which is this one. And then we've also told it not. So by default, without not, it would be if the player is in the area, then continue. We want it to be the opposite. We want it if they're not in the area, then it continues. So we set it to be not true. So when it's not true, the trigger will trigger, basically. So after that, we need the vehicle to leave. But we can't just play the leaving animation. As you can see, it says recording, play, and delete, but the vehicle is still hovering. If we play the leaving animation, nothing will happen because the vehicle has been stuck in this hover position and won't change until told to do so. So it says vehicle hover, re1 pelican, 0, which basically just says vehicle hover on this vehicle, set it to false. So if we type this in, the vehicle will just float to the ground. And what we can do after that is the same tick. We can set it to play the leave animation and then delete once it's finished. So I'll do this right now. So vehicle hover re1 pelican 0. The vehicle is no longer hovering, but we want this to leave in the same frame, basically. So I'm going to do recording, play, and delete. Re1 pelican, re1 rec out. Enter. And as you can see, the vehicle will now fly away. So it flies up and then flies away, basically. And at the end of its animation, it will delete itself. So let's just make sure it does that. It's gonna fly around. I don't even remember what I did for this. I did this ages ago. Obviously, you want the vehicle to despawn in an area where the player cannot see it. Otherwise, it looks pretty jank. Okay, well, I put it there, apparently. Well, the player can't be here pretty much ever, so the chance of them seeing this is impossible. But obviously, you want it to disappear wherever the player cannot see it. So that is the Pelican animation. The Covenant Dropship animation is the same, but slightly different. I will show it to you, and also show the scripting as well. There are some teeny tiny changes that you need to be aware of. So let me find like a really simple one that I did. Okay, we'll do this one. Let's have a look, see here. It's basically the same. Let's go to the start position. Where is it? Over here? Right. Over here. So let's look at our script. So this is our beach cov backup script. You can just ignore this. So basically this says sleep until one of these 4 things happen. When these guys are dead, when these guys are dead, if the player hits this trigger, or if the player hits this trigger, basically. But let's continue afterwards. So it says object create anew, this dropship, same as before. AI place, again, same thing. We're placing the units that are going to be in it. Now the next bit is important. By default, the Covenant dropship, its I don't know, flanges, its doors, I guess, are open. And to close them, you use the unit close command. So unit close, as I don't know why, survive? I don't know what this means. It means something. I did this ages ago. It basically just tells this ship to close its doors. And then pretty much the rest of the animation is actually the same. The scripting is all the same. You can see it does vehicle load magic, loads these actors into the vehicle, teleports the vehicle to its starting flag, plays its animation and hovers at the end of it. Now the only difference is that after it's played its animation, which apparently goes on for this many ticks, we want the doors to open. So that's what we do. We do unit open. We open the doors, and then 1 second later, we unload the passenger seats. This is another word that you can use. I believe the Covenant dropship, it's referred to passengers, and then the Pelican, they're referred to as riders. So we use the passenger command, and this refers to every seat in the Covenant dropship, basically. So we do that, and they all get out, and then 140 seconds later, 140 seconds, 4 seconds, this is 120 ticks rather, that's 4 seconds. 4 seconds later, the doors close, the vehicle stops hovering, and it flies away. Okay, so I'm going to just demonstrate what this looks like in-game, just so that we all see what happens, and I can just sort of demonstrate that it works. But I'll show, once we get to here in my level, once we kill off these enemies here, once the last one has died, you'll see that the script will play, because we have less than 5 Marines. We have 4 Marines here, so this script is going to play. So once I kill this last guy, it says wait for reinforcements. That's a tutorial for another day, I suppose. But if we wait around here, we will see something come round the corner. Let's have a look. Here we are. So here is the Pelican. It flies over. The Marines get out one at a time. They've been told to migrate to this squad over here, which they do. And then while I stand here, this Pelican will not move. It will stay exactly where it is all the time, forever and ever and ever. But if I move outside of the clearance, it flies away. And there we go. That's how you do recorded animations in Halo Combat Evolved. Again, this works the same way with Covenant dropships. I'll also show this too, just because I can. Why not? Let me just quickly whiz past all of this. As you can see, the Covenant dropship comes in, same thing, and it goes down. The doors open. There are no units in it because they're all dead. Oops. Nope, there are some guys here. Here we go. The doors open, doors close, and it flies away. And then, you know, the dudes do whatever they do. So basically that's how you do recorded animations in Halo Combat Evolved. I'm sure I missed something here. But if you have any problems, just comment down below and I'll do my best to help. Or maybe even do a follow-up video to cover specific things I might have missed. Which is probably a lot. This video is long as hell. But anyway, guys, again, need any help, comment in the description, in the comment section below, or at me on Twitter. And we can help discuss stuff, and I can help teach you how to do this thing. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.